Hello and welcome to episode 147 of Tom's Hardware, the Piecast, and it is September the 26th, 2023. Wow, it's nearly the end of September. I'm your host, Associate Editor Les Pounder, and with me tonight is a very special guest, Max Björverud. I hope I said that correctly. I have tried. Max has got a fantastic project, and I'd like Max to do a brief introduction about himself and what the project is, and then we're going to play a video. We don't normally play videos, but this one needs a video to explain what it is because it's so awesome. So, Max, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hi. I'm Max Björverud. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden, and I work with, let's say, interactive installations, exhibits, and music mainly. And I've been using Raspberry Pi quite extensively since I think the first one I got in 2013, I think, and made. I don't remember that project, but I remember I sat the whole summer trying to get it working, but I got it working. And the project now, the Technoframes, is a project that we did for me and a colleague and friend of mine, Håkan Lidbo, which is the Technoframes is a 3-piece installations we made for the Stockholm Fringe Fest, which is like a cultural festival in Stockholm each year. So yeah, it's basically a loop player, and I think the video will explain quite good what it is. A touch-based loop player.
Awesome. Well, let's put the video on. So hold on to your ears, everyone. I don't know what the volume is going to be like. We'll soon find out. That is awesome.
Thanks.
I really like. So we need to go through this piece by piece and talk all about it. 'Cause it's just so fantastic. So we see 3 big interactive art pieces. So what's behind those? What's actually driving the interaction when you touch the exhibit?
On the back there is like the most basic. We have giant African snails at our office, like the huge ones, the big ones. So to keep them in their space, we have a lot of copper tape that we put around them so they don't escape.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of copper tape. So we took the copper tape, and then we have put that tape behind, like the hands on this acrylic sheets, and soldered some wires to them. And then on the back, they go to a card with like a breakout board for the MPR 121, I think it is. Yes, it's like a breakout card for capacity sensing that Adafruit has had for I don't know how long, and I have a couple of those lying around. And it's based like capacity sensing is basically like you can make any kind of metal into like a button of some sort. So behind all of these, the hands, there you have it. I think that's just similar to the one we have in it. Actually, I think if I have a thing here that is not working, but it has the thing, which is like,
oh wow,
I can see this little thing here, that thing here.
Yeah,
that is the MPR on here, and as you see the wires on this one, this is not working, so I need to fix it. But that's the card. It's like a tiny card, and the only reason I had to use that was we have it's connected then to a ESP32, and the ESP32 has capacitive sensing built in on the pins directly. So you can use, if you use Arduino, you can just connect to those pins and just use touch read, I think.
Yeah.
But we couldn't use all the pins because with the Wi-Fi enabled, it didn't work basically. So some of the pins on the breakout I used didn't work. So there's the MPR is connected to ESP32, and that one is reading the touches on all of these, the 3 frames basically.
Yeah.
And then on the floor we have a speaker, and in that speaker we have a Raspberry Pi that is then connected to the Wi-Fi that we set up, and the ESP is just sending the touch points over UDP to the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in sorry, of course, and then we come to the music, the main piece of it. So I've been using Pure Data since forever. Like my first, when I started doing, I studied sound production and was supposed, I guess, to be working with maybe film or radio or anything like that. But I was introduced something called Max MSP, which is a graphical programming language for like media art, or mainly it was made for sound, interactive sound design. If you've heard of it, the Max MSP.
I've not heard of it. No, Maximus P.
It's made by Cycling 74, but it's really huge within like the media art scene.
Wow. Yeah, I'm on the website now. I'll put this in the chat so you can all have a look at this.
Yeah,
that is impressive.
It's really, and they have you can test it for like 30 days, I think, to just test it out. But the reason that then I got to Pure Data, because Pure Data is like the open source version of Max MSP. So Miller Puckett made this in, I don't know, it's quite a while ago, beginning of the 90s maybe. But Max MSP can't be run on the Raspberry. Maybe now, but not when I wanted to do my things. So but Raspberry, but Pure Data can be run on almost anything. So I even have a card now that you can run it on like the Pico, what's it called? Yeah,
Raspberry Pi Pico.
Yeah, there is a card someone made that you can throw out at like a Pure Data patch on a Pico.
That's
I
awesome.
think. But anyway, like the sound engine is basically a big loop machine that I build in Pure Data, and all the music is loops made by Håkan Lidbo, which I work with a lot. He's been making electronic music for ages. Actually, he's really good, and we share a studio with some other people. One is Jaime Reis and then Mikael Sjösten and some other people. And it's a place called Rumtiden. We sit in Stockholm, and we do. It's like a freelance art collective place.
Yeah,
do a lot of similar things like this, museums, and
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you fall into this line of work? This is quite an exciting area of work because you're creating all the time. So how did you fall into it?
Like I've been thinking about this myself, and I think because I, in some kind of way, I always try to do something that I find fun, and I just found like interaction and sound being a fun thing to work with.
Yeah.
And then like I discovered actually the Raspberry Pi, to be honest, like that was one of the main thing that actually maybe created what I could do. because there was no way of me, like with the Raspberry, I could suddenly take the things I built, like with Arduinos, and package it into something that I could hand over to someone.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to install anything. I didn't have to leave my computer somewhere. And yeah. And like my first larger project that got me actually started with this thing is a Raspberry Pi based project that we developed between 2015 2016, which is called the Singing Tunnels, and it's a public space installation where we have, again, pure data running on a Raspberry Pi, and we have a microphone connected to it, and the microphone will listen to like people singing in a pedestrian street tunnel and detect the pitch of that person, and then we'll play back like a choral voice to play back a choral voice matching that. And that was when I really got to like learn how to use, like build something with the Raspberry Pi that would actually like last and not break down that quick, at least.
No, I can understand that. I've done Raspberry Pi installations before, not to this level, nowhere near this level. And they have been janky things held together with sellotape and staples and all sorts. And they will fall apart in a few hours. So creating something that's going to last for the public to use day in, day out is extremely difficult.
Yeah, I once heard that, like, we done some things for like technical museums, which sometimes is basically like a place where people come and leave their kids so they can do whatever, and things are gonna get destroyed there if they're not really sturdy. So I heard from one that if you want to test something and make sure that this is good, then you take a 12-year-old and you just put them with the thing. And like, number one, if they understand how it works, and it's good, it's a good design of how people will understand this. And number two, if it doesn't break, then it won't break. Like, because they will sometimes find ways of breaking things that you will never think of. So
yes,
I've had experiences with that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking on your project site now, and you've got some fantastic projects. There was one that I saw when we first did your story on Tom's Hardware. Apologies for pronunciation. Bolon wall, is it?
Yeah, Bolon wall. It's I made this a couple of months ago. It's Bolon is like a Swedish brand that makes what's it called, like floor tiles, like carpets. And I helped them to build like this. They had a new release, and they had this idea of something moving on the walls. So I helped them basically build this moving kinetic thingy with servos and stepper motors. And this was actually for that project. I bought some of these ESPs that are running the Technoframes.
That's it.
But I didn't end up using those for that. I had to take something else because it didn't work. But it was kind of nice because I haven't done that much kinetic things, but I find that super interesting, and are starting to explore that quite a bit because I think it ties together good with sound.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, the whole kinetic, the movements, and for myself, I like lights. I love NeoPixels, APA 102, that sort of thing. It just fascinates me how you can control lights and have an installation based on light. So,
Yeah.
seeing something move and see and listen to music as well, it's icing on the cake for me. It's just another feature that can be there to dazzle the viewers, but also to entertain and inform them at the same time, so they can see how things work and they can think for themselves about how things work and think, could I do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why this wall got my attention, because it looks so simple. It's just primary colors on a wall.
Yeah.
It's floor tiles and they move, but it's how they move and how they interact with the space and the people who are watching it. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks. I think that's like, I really like one part to basically hide the technology, like hide it as much as possible, but at the same time, sometimes it's really like fun to like show some parts of it, so some people can like get this aha feeling or something, that they sort of understand what's happening in some way. And yeah, I actually like, for sometimes I just wished I could like bring maybe the tech box out in front of the like the whole build as well, like make that as a separate like piece. When you make something, you have like this is the brain and this is doing this thing, like, to really show that. I'm sorry, the dog is
It's okay. Good evening to the dog.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying, but something like the Raspberry Pi, something like Arduino's, ESP32s, they're almost consumer tech now that we take for granted, and we see them everywhere. I mean, Raspberry Pis are powering boards in airports, train stations, coffee shops. There's a noodle bar somewhere in the States that has 3 Raspberry Pis controlling the menu system, just so it looks cool. Doesn't do anything, just looks cool. But it does look cool. So I wanted to ask you about how do you choose what powers your project? I mean, you've used an ESP32, you've mentioned Arduino, you've mentioned Raspberry Pi. How do you choose which board that you want to use in your project?
Like right now, I just like I try to separate things quite a bit. So I like to put, if I have like electronics buttons, all of things like that, I don't like to connect it directly to Raspberry. I like to put that maybe on an ESP or an Arduino, and then have a connection there. So I'm always, right now, it's just that I just find the ESP is so like versatile, so I can do so much with it. I can use it just in like an Arduino and do the USB, but like for this project, the Technoframes, I used the ESP because I wanted them to be wireless. I wanted like to be able to take these frames and put them in a space that is so big, so like you can't pull the wire. So I can do that now. I can. And the Raspberry is something that I mainly use like as a like the core or something, when it's not anything like deeply visual like in the projects. So when I do something that is mainly like audio based or things like that, I usually use like a Raspberry Pi in combination with like the Hi-Fi Berry, if you know, they make these.
Oh, yes.
These, yeah. I use the amplifier boards quite a bit, and their DACs, which is and it just works. So that's what I like about it. But then when it comes to like, as soon as it comes to me needing to use like anything like visuals, then I usually leave the Raspberry Pi, because I've had too much issues like trying to get it smooth and running really good. Like I had to, it was today fixed a small installation for the I don't know the number of times I've done this. But it's
Yeah.
and that is a Raspberry Pi that is running both a little visual thing and some audio and a couple of spotlights.
Wow.
And it's actually an extremely fun project. I done 2 toilet installations.
Okay.
With Raspberry Pi. One is a singing toilet installation, which is I've used like an Arduino and some Hall effect sensors, like you have on your bike, and you play music by pulling the toilet paper from the wall, and that's then you have a Raspberry Pi playing nice music. And that one is working perfectly because there's no visuals; it's just toilet rolls.
That is an unusual way to interact with a piece of art, to pull toilet rolls and have it react.
Yeah, it's. I think the fun part of that is that the people who have that in their office, like people just ask to use the toilet, and they go to the toilet and they come back with this weird experience, and they can start conversation about it.
That is
And
awesome.
then the other one is at the same location where we made a super tiny exhibit of Will Ferrell. So it's in the toilet. It's just pictures of Will Ferrell. This one is not up on the site yet, unfortunately.
That's a sentence I did not expect to hear today. That Will Ferrell is an art exhibit in installation in
a toilet.
It's just a sentence you don't think you're ever going to hear, but when you hear it, you question yourself in a good way.
Yeah. But I hope I hope that one day he might be in Stockholm, and he says he needs to go to the bathroom, and he's around this place, and he can just go in and he will get to use it.
I really think you need to go on social media and just drop him a line and just say, "Hey, look at this."
Yeah, I think we should be more proactive on this one.
That is awesome. Well, going back to Technoframes just briefly, we talked about the technology that makes it all work, the ESP32s, the Raspberry Pi, and how they communicate. But I'm also interested in learning about how you fabricate the actual frames, the actual instruments themselves, because they look like they're laser cut, but I'm not too sure.
Of course, yeah. It's we discussed like before. Should we paint them? Should we laser cut something? We have a small laser cutter at our studio, but then Håkan, who I made this with, found this company who it's basically like you do prints on the back of acrylic plates. So I think it's used a lot in galleries and such. It becomes like this really nice thing. So they do the prints and the cut, but they only do the round cut. So we have to drill all the holes for everything.
Oof.
And that was we had Petter, one at our place, who helped us with that, and Mikael, of course, the heroes of working that we have. Actually, no, Mikael and Petter is the guys who actually knows how to do a lot of the actual like, what do you call it, drilling, and the tools. They can use the tools. That's what I'm calling it. But
awesome.
and then they're on a frame, and we actually put them up on the wall, because it's this installation is also coming back to bathrooms. It's by the queue to the bathroom at this bar. So they couldn't drill on the walls because it's like this tiles.
Yeah.
So we put them up with, what's the name? This double adhesive, and sorry, I don't know the English word. But it's like double adhesive, basically.
Double-sided tape. So like a foam double-sided tape. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
That's a good way of doing it, actually. I like how you printed it. So it's on the reverse, so the person touches it, but they can't actually cause any damage to the surface.
No, and that's because we wanted to. That's another part of it. It's made planned so you can flip it over.
Mm-hmm.
How is it as a table? So on.
Wow.
You can't see it on this in the film because it's too light there, and I was quite. I sheeped out on the lighting, but there's actually a lot of NeoPixels in it as well. Within like there's 4 white circles in the center.
Yeah.
And they are pulsating with like the beat, but you can't see it now because I didn't pull up the brightness that much. I was afraid of something, I don't know what. And the idea is that you pull them over as a table, and you put your beer or something on those, and you get like a light effect in your drinks.
Oh, that's cool.
And then you can just wipe it off since it's acrylic. That's why we use the acrylic.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So Technoframes is done. What's your next project? Can you talk about any future projects you've got coming up? And obviously, you've got client confidentiality, but is there anything that you could say?
Like one that we're doing that is like a long ongoing thing is we're doing a project in Kenya, which is like it's been ongoing for like since 2020 or something like that, or even before that actually. But it's we've been traveling around together with there's a museum called Bomas of Kenya, which is like a outdoor museum showcasing like cultural heritage and musical history and dance in Kenya. And we've been together with them going around and recording samples from different like locations around Kenya, like their native, like different instruments. And then we put we're putting those samples inside of 9 installations that are being built then for a museum down there. That is something that we're doing like right now. We were down earlier this year and aim to finish it, I think either this or next year. So that's like the big one that we're doing like right now.
That's cool. So is that Raspberry Pi based, or is it something else that's going to be?
Unfortunately, not. It's
okay.
it's an Asus, like a NUC based thing.
Yeah.
But it's similar to like if you seen these like reactable tables or something like that. You know, this where you have like markers that you can track with a camera like this.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So we use that as like the interaction. So it's basically like tables with blocks of these markers that holds different samples. But
I like that.
I had I talked with a friend about, because I've separated I did an update this year, so I separated the tracking of the markers from the graphics of the program, the 2 programs instead. So it would be easier to like support and fix things. And then we actually talked about just putting the whole tracking on a Raspberry and separate it into 2 computers. But then we realized the computer was good enough to handle everything. So
that's fair enough. And as much as we love Raspberry Pi, you have to use the right tool for the job. And if Raspberry Pi isn't doing it for you, then an Intel NUC is absolutely fine. An Arduino if you just need low power. ESP32 if you want Wi-Fi and low power. Trust me, I have a whole drawer full of ESP32s and 8266s over here. and they do all sorts of weird stuff. But no, that's brilliant.
Yeah, thanks. It's I think that's one of the projects that I'm super proud of. So the Kenyan project, because it's so I don't know. I like realize how big it is for the people when I come down, when we came down and visit, how much they like the project. And yeah, I think that's the
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned NUCs before, so I've got on my desk right now 2 other pieces of kit. These are not Raspberry Pis, but they're alternatives to a Pi. So let's just put myself in solo and go to the overhead camera. So you can see on my desk we have a Zima Blade, or Zima Blade, I think it is. $64 it starts for, and it's an Intel-based, well, SBC basically. We've had it on the show before, and I've got this all set up now. This is running actually a 4 terabyte NAS. So underneath there is a spinning disk, an HDD, 4 terabytes, and it's serving media across my house right now. Love the bit of kit, really easy to use. So normally when you've got a NAS, you've got to sit there with open media vaults and you've got to mess around with software. But with this, with Zima, you just have a browser base to work with. So I'm going to go to the browser. So here's the page for Zima. We'll do a quick little go over the specs, what it has. USB-C power, 2 USB 3 ports, sorry, 1 USB 3 port, mini display port for video, gigabit Ethernet, 2 SATA ports, SATA 3, so you can put SATA drive straight in, hence I've got this hard drive in. And it's got a SODIMM slot for DDR3. And yes, you're all thinking DDR3, that's old, we're on DDR5 now, but it's cheap, it's plentiful, and it doesn't need a lot of speed, this board. It's just an Intel Celeron inside. So with this board, I've got 8 gig of RAM, DDR3. I've got the hard drive connected to it, and I've got a NAS. But it can be also whatever I want. It can be PC, firewall, media server, travel router if you want. You can run retro games on it because it is just an Intel-based SBC. It's just a computer. So I've got it set up right now, and this is my drive. So that's all the files on the drives. If I close that, you can see there's a web interface, and it shows what the CPU is doing, how much RAM I'm consuming. It has an app store, and I can click on the app store, and I can load new apps without having to go into Linux terminals and type in all these commands. Don't get me wrong, I've been using Linux for 25 plus years now, and I love it. But sometimes it's just nice and easy just to click on a button and make it work. So I've got this set up as well as a Pi-hole ad blocker. I've got memos on there, so I can make a memo anywhere on the network, just connect up, write a note, put some images to it so I know to do something at work. Easy. And it starts at £64, so $64. And what I'll do, I'll go into my notes now, and I'll stick a link to that in the chat, so you can all have a look at that whenever you fancy. There we go. And I've got something else, and this is a bit more expensive. So this, in fact, a lot more expensive. Let's say 10 times more expensive than $64. But interesting nonetheless. So we've got the Cadence Mind. And Cadence Mind is an Intel 13th gen SBC. Comes from the same people who made the Vim 3, Vim 4, Edge 2 Pro. But it's a tiny little thing. So I'm going to go to overhead camera so you can see what I've got. Now, unfortunately, I've not got a banana for scale, which is quite, unfortunate. But if I just remove this here, there is your 13th gen Intel machine with 1 terabyte hard drive and 32 gig of DDR4 if memory serves. It's got a few ports on the back. HDMI, 2 USB 3 and 2 USB-C. But this is a Kickstarter. You can pay a bit more money. You can get a dock. And this dock has a lovely feature. So if I get these two the right way round and place one on top of the other, the magnet pulls it in place. This is where I hold it upside down and it falls. Well, there you go. It's held in place. More ports. More HDMI, Ethernet, gigabit Ethernet. More USB ports. A volume button. Let's get it in shot. You can also get, for this interface, coming out soon, a graphics card connection, a graphics dock. So Mind Graphics, if memory serves, it's called. And that will give you an AMD graphics card as well. So good fun. This is something I'm going to be testing pretty soon. Just finishing off testing on the Zima Blade right now. But this starts at approximately $599. So it's a bit more money than the Zima, but it's a premium piece of kit. And also, with the form factor, how small it is, it has a built-in battery. Not a battery to power it so you can use it, wherever you want to be, but a battery's there so that you can pick up this machine, put it in your bag, take it home, plug it into a dock at home, and carry on working with the same machine. Interesting feature, not something I've seen before, but I'm going to have some fun with this. It looks like a nice little unit, and it could be good for emulation as well. So, what do you reckon? Could any of those make it into your repertoire of machines?
Actually, I'm always looking for like these smaller boards that are like a tiny bit better than like a Raspberry on some parts. So I'm gonna look at the Zima for once.
The Zima is interesting, $64, and it's an Intel machine, so you could put, if you want, Windows 10 on there.
Yeah,
it wouldn't
exactly.
run very well because it's an Intel Celeron, but you could if you wanted to.
Mm. And I wonder if the other one, the Kadas, is because I never really used this like UPS really, but if the battery could be, if it works, could work like something like that. Because if I put something up and people will just want to pull out the plug and like to restart something.
Yeah.
And maybe that battery will make that like live longer, maybe. Like to protect the hard drive or something.
Yeah, so like a basic UPS, just to give it a few moments of protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'll find out when I do the review. It's coming up soon. Well, thank you very much, Max, for being on the show today. It has been absolutely fantastic. I've taken the liberty of getting your website address, and I'll stick it up as a banner now so everyone can see. So go there, have a look at Max's projects. They're fantastic, all of them.
Thanks.
And I mean it. I'm not saying that because he's here. I mean it. They are really good. So enjoy yourself for those. Max, thank you very much for being on the show. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Thanks for having me.
It's okay. Yeah. We'll be back next week with another show, the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. British Summer Time. And we'll have, hopefully, a full crew next week. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Bye.